as we start today, I want to ask you a question. What has it taken in your life to get you where you are? I mean, to make you stronger as a person, as an individual, and to make your faith stronger. Are there things in your life that have happened that were hard, that have brought you through so that you're a stronger believer, so that you work stronger, so that your life is better than it used to be? Is that a yes or no? Everybody's just kind of, yeah. We all go through those difficult times. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, what does it take to make like steel stronger? I hear about that, to make a skyscraper, they don't just make this melted metal and just throw it up there. There's a lot more to it than that. Or to make a really good knife. And I thought about, we thought about doing a demonstration, and I forgot all the different technicalities and how dangerous that would be. So we decided not to do that. But I did find that the program on History Channel that does forging. And so we're going to watch a little clip on how they make steel, or make a knife, and just talk about how they temper steel. So, whoops. Next slide. Here we are. Probably have to turn it up a lot.
Dave, here in the forge, we talk about how the heat treat is the heart and soul of the blade, and oftentimes there are questions about when to quench your blade and what's the right temperature to quench at. Could you just go through that with me for a little bit?
Well, I like to get a blade grounded, just maybe a 200 or 220 grit. All right, so this is a magnet. You can see it sticks on there nicely. When we get this to the proper temperature, this will be non-magnetic.
Okay.
Basically, it'll be in a critical state or just a subcritical state where those molecules are bouncing around so much and the magnet won't. So this is a good indicator.
Okay.
We also often talk about how people overheat their knives. So what I've done is I've turned all the burners off except one.
Okay.
So I've just got the small area. So we'll start heating this up. So often when people are grinding after they've tempered their blades, we talk about that black color getting on the edge of the blade. Now what they've done is they've added so much heat that they're changing the color.
We also see the tips of blades get very, very hot.
Exactly. That's why I only have one burner going. The tip of my blade is actually past the flame.
Okay.
So now you can see it's all evened out. It's kind of turning into a almost grayish color.
I see it.
The edge is just starting to glow pink. That's why I'm moving it a lot. I don't want too much heat going to any one spot at a time. Now in the forge, I can see it turning a nice glowing color there.
Right.
Right now, the magnet's just barely sticking along the spine. We've seen a lot of people warp their blades by only heating one side.
Right, so you're twisting it back and forth.
Just gently keeping it moving. See, now we've got that nice red glow in there.
Nice.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Going into the oil. We want to just go straight into the oil. Now, you want to agitate it a bit, but you want to agitate it along the line of the knife.
All right. Now, a lot of times, this is where you see that gigantic fireball,
like
like that.
Yeah, maybe.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it's just like they could time that, and I don't think that. But when you look at that, you think about that intense heat. They said he heated it over 1,400 degrees. That's really hot. Can you imagine? Have you ever felt like that God is putting you through something like that that's really hot, that he's turning you and twisting you and he's trying to make you just right? But it's a hard time. It's something that we don't like going through. I mean, it's painful. I mean, I don't think a knife can feel. I'm sure they can't. But if we were going through that, how painful that is when we go through those tough times in our lives. It's not pleasant, and it's awful to have to get that hot to get to be where God wants us to be. But as we work hard and we go through the hard times, that's just part of being human, and it's part especially of being a Christian. God uses those hard times to teach us, to help us to get stronger, just like that steel gets stronger by being in that heat and being heated up to over 1,400 degrees. It's a stronger blade because of it. And we get stronger as well. James 1:2-4 says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing." We will grow. We will be thoroughly complete, needing nothing, which is pretty awesome. And then Peter wrote to the early church, pretty simple, a similar passage to that as well, in 2 Peter 1:5-7. And he wrote, "In view of all this, make every effort to respond to God's promises. Supplement your faith with a generous provision of moral excellence, and moral excellence with knowledge, and knowledge with self-control, and self-control with patient endurance, and patient endurance with godliness, and godliness with brotherly affection, and brotherly affection with love for everyone." We are called to grow. That didn't just all happen at once. You started with different things. You started with moral excellence, and then knowledge, and that just keeps growing. And that's what God has called us to do, to grow. I've learned from being a member of the human race that we all go through stuff, but we also all like to avoid hurt and pain as much as possible. We try to hide from it. We try to find other ways to deal with it. We try to cover it up. And we hurt and we struggle with that. And we don't like to face the pain. We don't like to face the pain from our harmful habits or our hurts. Or we don't like to face the pain from those hurtful things in our lives that are just really tearing us down. We like to find ways to escape. You know, sometimes we turn to alcohol, we turn to drugs, we turn to relationships, we turn to other things to just get us quiet, to find a way to escape. We talked a lot about that last week, how we like to escape our problems and use something else instead to take care of them. So this series that we're doing is called Life's Healing Choices. And we have been talking about those. I want you to stick with me over the next 6 weeks because we're going to continue to build on each healing choice to grow. And Gary, would you turn the fans on in here? It's getting a little warm, I think. So, and I pray, and just as we continue, I want you to hang in there with me. And as we go through this together, just continue to listen and allow God to talk to you through these. And as we think about those, our first choice, I don't know if anybody remembers, was called the reality choice. We have to come to a reality about ourselves. It says, realize I am not God. Admit I am powerless to control my tendency to do the wrong thing, and my life is unmanageable. Well, that first part, realizing I'm not God, isn't too difficult, at least for me. I mean, I know I'm not God. I mean, if I was God, would I look like this? I don't think so. Oh, great. Some people even shook their heads. That makes me feel even worse. But, I mean, I'd probably be tall and thin and look like those women that are on television that I know appeal to some of the male gender. And I would be a lot younger. And I would stay that way. It would just be really nice. And, you know, I get a reality check when my grandkids and my great-grandkids are over. It's so cute. They are so honest. But they're also very brutal sometimes. They will come up to me and say, you know, Grandma, you're old. And I think, well, thank you. I know that. And, you know, I can't run as fast as I used to, and I can't keep up like I used to. I was able to keep up with middle school boys not that long ago. But now, you know, some of them can actually run faster than me. Not all of them. I know Christopher can, because he can really move. And there's just no way. But when I used to go down to camp, I used to be able to catch them kids and put them in jail when we played Capture the Flag. And it was a lot of fun. Now I just kind of have to be the guard, and that's kind of boring. But, you know, I can still be fun. But I have to recognize that I am not perfect. I mean, if I was, I would be God, and I'm not. And that's what we all have to come to, that realization. But we sometimes live like that. We think that we're in control. We think we're in control of our lives. We think we're in control of our families. We think we're in control of the people around us. I mean, if you just have a teenager, you find out you're not in control of very much. And it doesn't take much to realize that. You just have to come to that conclusion that there is no way you're really in control. So I know I'm not God. So in Ephesians 3:7-8, the Apostle Paul again, he has a lot of good stuff to say. He wrote, "By God's grace and mighty power, I have been given the privilege of serving him by spreading this good news. Though I am the least deserving of all God's people, he graciously gave me the privilege of telling the Gentiles about the endless treasures available to them in Christ." The Apostle Paul, that super apostle, he said, I was the least deserving of the apostles. He felt that he was just the least in all those groups. He wasn't a super apostle like Peter and James and John, yet he was called to share the gospel with the Gentiles. But he still struggled. In Romans 7:15, he writes, "I don't understand myself at all. I really want to do the right thing, but I still struggle and I do the wrong thing. And that battle goes on within me." And then he says, what is the answer? Who can help me? And at the end of that passage, he says, by Jesus Christ. His power is the only reason that I can live and be like Jesus Christ. I can do the right thing. Can anyone else relate to him during that passage? You want to do right, you want to change, yet it's still a continual struggle. Do you feel that? Do you ever feel that way? I know I do. There are things. I had a time yesterday on my way home from Iowa just struggling with not being in control of a situation. I had to be very honest with myself. And I had to say, God, I have to trust you because I can't fix this. I'm a fixer, and I like to fix things, and I like to fix people, and I found out that I can't do any of that. All I can do is give God's message and trust him and do my part. I had to apologize to God for not doing all my part. But he isn't, I still have to trust him. And that's where the rubber meets the road so much of the time. Well, that was week 1 and choice 1. Last week, we talked about the hope choice, to earnestly believe that God exists, that you matter to him, and he has the power to help you change. We have to earnestly believe that God exists. When we choose to hope, we choose to believe in God. We choose to believe that he has the power alone to help us to change, that we can't do it by ourselves. So if we summarize these 2 points, the first one is, I'm not God. I don't have the power to change myself. If I did, I would have. So I don't, so I can't. As simple as that. There's a God who's crazy about me is the second one, who loves me, who's calling me to a deeper, more meaningful relationship with him, who wants to see me change. He loves us so much that he wants us to become like him. And he doesn't want to leave us the way we are. He wants to change us to be more in his image. That is excellent news. He says he wants to make us a new person. When he comes to live in our lives and we allow him the power to change us, when we allow him to use his power, we become a new person. We are new, changed from the inside out. That's transformation. That is huge in all of our lives. Just knowing this stuff, though, isn't going to make you change. Just knowing it in your head won't do anything. It won't change anything. You can say, yeah, I understand that. I know that in my head. And you can just go home and forget not do a single thing about it. I mean, it's easy. It's kind of like knowing that if we know all about Walmart. We all shop there, at least occasionally. And you think about it, one of the things I've come to know and come down to, I know that if Walmart does not have it, that thing doesn't exist, right? But we can actually believe that. We can actually think it in our minds and actually think we know that. Yet knowing it and changing it and knowing something about it is totally different. We need to act upon it. We need to live it out. Science tells us that we have to hear stuff 7 times before we even begin to believe it and act on it. So if you think I'm repeating stuff, you're right. We repeat a lot because that's how we learn things. We need to hear it 7 times. But even then, we have to act on it. If we don't do anything about it, it doesn't do us any good at all. James wrote, "You say you have faith, for you believe that there is one God." He said, good for you. Even the demons believe that. and they tremble in terror. But he says, how foolish. He said that good faith without good deeds is useless. That's James' words. And he said we need to act on what we believe. Faith without action, is it really faith? Are we doing anything with it? God says we have to. I mean, even the demons know that there's a God. And look where that gets them. But we need ourselves to internalize that and make him Lord of our lives. So, and that brings us to our third choice, the commitment choice. To consciously choose to commit all my life and will to Christ's care and control. Jesus said, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Now, when you hear that word meek, you don't think of powerful, do you? You think of weak. You think of wimpy. You think of somebody that just is nice and they just go around, they're sappy, and they just, you don't think of something, and the audience that Jesus was teaching was in the same boat. They're the Jewish people. They were a strong, proud people. I mean, they had been conquered over and over and over again. They understood that power came with strength and military might. That's what took. So they were looking for a Messiah that isn't going to preach meekness. They're looking for a Messiah that's going to come at them a lot like the Incredible Hulk or the Avengers, or somebody that's going to come in and save the day and say, you're free and we're going to take care of you. That's what they were looking for, and often that's what we think when we think of strong. When we think of tempered steel, we think of the fire, we think of the steel. We don't think of what else it takes to use that and to control that. When, women, when we go out into the marketplace in business, we don't go out there like the ladies stereotypical, I'm going to say stereotypical, from the 50s that wore the dress, that were very submissive, that were just, it's okay, I don't care. And we don't do our business that way. We come out and we're strong, powerful women, because we need to swim in with the sharks. We need to hang in there with these other men in the business world and do our jobs. Well, we don't think of that as meekness. Or like a football team. I mean, football season is among us, and you can't imagine Coach Zimmer going to tell his group, oh, okay, you, the front tackle, you guys go out there and just build that other team up. Encourage them, and if they fall down, make sure you pick them up. I mean, that is, and maybe they will, but that isn't what they're supposed to do. You think about him saying, go out there and kill them, knock them down, take them out. That's what they're supposed to do. That's what tackles do. Take it, not kill them, but take them down and score and win and be competitive. Well, our Messiah, he came out and he said, blessed are the meek. And in the Greek, that word that was used was praeus. And that actually means a number of things in Greek. Greek often had many meanings for the same word. And in Jesus' context, it was about strength under control. And there's a deeper meaning to that word. And I want to have a demonstration, and I'm going to pick on some of the guys here this morning because I need some men to help me. So I would like Mike and Keith and Lupe. Would you guys come up here for me, please? Please. You don't have to say anything. Just please come up here. I need some help. I couldn't bring a horse, so... come on up. So these guys, come on up here. I want you three over here. Come on. And I want you to kind of link arms. You know what they want? Yep. Show Lupe what you want them to do. Link arms. There we go. Real strong. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you. Okay, if these three guys are up here, do you think I'm going to be very much matched to knock them over when they're linked together like that? Oh, if I came at a running leap at them, maybe I'd move them. But I don't think I would knock these three guys over. They're pretty strong, do you think? Yeah. Okay. Well, I ride a horse, and her name is Sophie, and she's probably between 800 and 1,000 pounds. So to do that, I'd need a couple more guys, wouldn't I? These guys aren't very big. So imagine like two more of these, like having Eric and Henry up here too to just muscle us up. And then they all stood there, and I would tell them to go, what I put in my horse is this. I put in this, and I put this bit in her mouth. And all I have to do is turn her left or right, and I pull and she does it. But she is strong, though. If she would realize that she outweighed me by 5 guys or 4 guys, she could do whatever she wanted. And you know what? I've had horses that do that. All of a sudden, they think, oh, she can't really control me with that very well, because that is just a piece of metal that goes in my mouth, and I can ignore it. And I have had that happen. It hurts. But that's what we're talking about. That's what this is. I couldn't bring my horse. We decided it would be too dangerous, even outside. But you think about it. That's what meekness is. It's strength under control. They would listen to me because they're wonderful gentlemen, and they're strong men, but they would also be good with whatever, because I'm the pastor and I'm a friend, and they would listen. But if they were the enemy, there wouldn't be much I could do. They could just knock me over pretty easily. And that's what I'm talking about, strength under control. Thank you, guys. That's all. Give them a hand, guys. That's a pretty wimpy hand, I want to say. But they had a lot of guts. But that's what we're talking about. That's what meekness is. It is strength under control. That's what Jesus is talking about. It's not, it's the idea of a tamed animal that is willing to listen and obey to just a bit in its mouth. Think of those hitches and those horses as they're going down the parade, and if those horses decided that day they weren't going to listen to that guy up on that wagon, and there was like 8 draft horses, what would happen? Oh yeah, they would just take off. They could tear away. There's just one guy up there with some reins. They could do pretty much anything they wanted if they weren't tamed and under control by the bits in their mouths. That's what Jesus is talking about. That's what meekness really is strength under control. So if you imagine in your mind that incredible horse running in the wind, doing all those things, you're seeing what meekness is. The strength under control. And Peter wrote in 1 Peter 2, 21 and 23. Let me put this down. Don't trip over that, guys. 21 to 23 says, "For God called you to do good, even if it means suffering. For just as Christ suffered for you, he is your example. And you must follow in his steps. Jesus, he never sinned, and nor ever deceived anyone. He did not retaliate when he was insulted, nor threaten revenge when he suffered. He left his case in the hands of God, who as always judges fairly." Jesus didn't only preach meekness, he was our example. He lived it out. He didn't just say, "Blessed are the meek." He modeled it in how he lived. Why did he do that? Why did Jesus model that out for us? Because he loves us. Because he has a plan for us. Because being strong in spirit and in faith is way stronger than a wild animal running around untamed and doing whatever they want. And meekness is what counts. Moses, I never think of Charleston Heston in the 10 Commandments as meek. Do you? No, he comes out there all powerful and he gets up there. But God said that, and I don't know that Charleston Heston was the perfect portrayal of Moses. But Moses in the Bible was called, in Numbers 12, the meekest. Moses was very meek and more than any man that were on the face of the earth. Moses was a meek man. But he led millions of people from Egypt to the border of the Promised Land for 40 years. Isn't that amazing how meekness can be leaders in strength? With God, meekness wins. With God, meekness wins. There is no magic switch that changes you overnight either. It would be great to say, "Oh, yep, today I'm planning on being meek the rest of my life." And it's not going to work that way. It would be nice, maybe. But like that tempered steel, it takes some heat. It takes some growth. It takes some time. And the reason it takes that time is because it is based on God's holiness. When I come up to a holy God, I realize how unholy I am, how unworthy I am. Like Paul, he was the least of all the apostles. When I come up to God, it's like Isaiah laying down in front of God and saying, "Oh, woe is me, I am a man of unclean lips." That's what we're talking about. That's humility. Meekness means I acknowledge God's holiness. When I look at myself in the light of who God is, I see his holiness and I see his worthiness. And then I see who I am. So the first part, meekness is a confidence in who I am. I have to come to understand that I am who I am. I am the one that he created, and I am a creation of God. I am one of his creation. And I am also somebody that is valued in his sight. But I am also a sinner, and I have a long way to go. And along with that, I have to be confident in whose I am. As a believer, I am a child of God. That makes me a daughter of the King. That makes you daughters and sons of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords when you become a believer in Jesus Christ. You are Jesus' brother and sister. Isn't that cool? You're part of his family. And he will give us the strength to be all that he has called us to be. It's a wonder that's inspired by the presence of God. 1 John 5:1 says, everyone who believes that Jesus is the Son of God becomes a child of God. I've got a new identity. I am a child of God. So here's how meekness fits with this third choice. I want to unpack it a little bit more for you as we look at the words in that third choice. The first one is, remember what it is? It's to consciously choose to commit all my life and will to Christ's care and control. That first word is consciously. Consciously. It is my decision. You have a choice to make. Are you going to commit yourself? You choose. God never forces anybody. There isn't something that you're born with. You're not born into a Christian family and because of that you're a Christian. That doesn't work that way. It is a conscious choice. It isn't because you were baptized in as an infant. That makes you a part of the Christian church. That does not make you a believer in Jesus Christ. You have to consciously choose to commit. That is your choice. Like I said, God never forces himself on anybody. He gave us free will. So first, it's my decision. Next, choose to commit. Now, we can choose to just say, I'm going to be a Sunday Christian. I'm going to choose to just give God part of my life. I'm going to choose just to be a Christian when people are watching me, not when people aren't. We have to choose to commit. We have to take that step that says, this far, and I'm going to do it. I am going to finally follow through. And then we have to do it over and over and over again. It isn't a one and done. Every day when you get up, you have to say, Lord, I'm giving you today. Every time you get mad at somebody and you're looking at the internet and you're thinking, I want to retaliate and I want to put it on Facebook. I'm really mad. I want everybody to know. And you've seen that, right? How many of you seen stuff like that on Facebook? Yeah, I have, and it just drives me crazy. That's what, that's where you have to make the choice. Am I going to do that? Am I going to hurt somebody by writing that? Or am I going to choose to be like Christ? He said he did not retaliate when people did him wrong. Are we going to choose to, when those images come up on Facebook, to say, no, I'm not going there. I'm going to block that website. I'm going to block those things. Or when we are going out with our friends and they hand us a beer or hand us a joint, are we going to say no? Are we going to give in? That's what we're talking about. It's a choice you make every single day. Even the words that come out of your mouth are a choice every single day. Are we going to honor somebody? Are we going to swear? Or are we going to be disrespectful? Those are things we have to choose to commit to God over and over again. And then it says, all my life and will. I like the word all. It makes it real easy. What does all mean? All. It means all. We're going to commit all my life and will to Christ's care and control. All. Everything. There is nothing left out of all. That's the whole deal. You have to do it all. Jesus said, and it's not my words. I'm not making this stuff up. Jesus said it in Luke. He said in Luke 14:33, no one, that's everybody too. No one can become my disciple without giving up everything for me. No one can be my disciple without giving up everything. Jesus is probably one of the only people in the world could ever use those big words, all and everything, and mean them and follow through on them. But that's what he's saying, to follow me all my life and will. And I think a lot of us choke on that. We like to be in control, like we said. We like to make our own decisions. We're strong. We're Minnesotans. We pick up ourselves from our own bootstraps. We do everything that, we want to make our own choices in this world, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. But God said, I want all of you. I want everything. I want every thought you think. I want everything you do. I want all of your life. And the best part is that we can turn it over to Christ's care and control because he loves me. He loves you. And think about that. He's the God of the universe. He loves you. Do you think he's going to do something to you that is not good? He loves you so much that he has a plan for you and that he knows what is best for you because he created you. Why is it so hard for us to let go and trust him? Like I said, I had to kick myself yesterday a few times with that one. I had a wonderful friend last night that prayed for me, and she reminded me of those very things. I had to trust, to let go and trust him. He's in charge. He loves me. He knows what's best, and he knows what's best for all of us. He will take care of us. So some of you might be saying, hey, I'm hurting. Stuff's going wrong in my life. You know, Jesus cares. He cares about that. Maybe you've got financial loss. He cares. Maybe you're unemployed and you don't know what to do for the future. He cares. He's there. When you commit all of your life and will to the care and control of Christ, the Spirit of God enters you, and you have his strength and his power to live for him. You aren't going to do this alone. He says he'll fill you with his Holy Spirit and make you right with him. Remember, it is meekness appears, and it's happy are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. So our third healing choice is consciously choose to commit to all my life and will to Christ's care and control. Would you read that with me? I think it's up there on the screen. Consciously choose to commit all my life and will to Christ's care and control. So my final word to you this morning is, will you? Will you consciously choose to commit all your life and will to the Lord? Will you? If you've never said yes to that invitation, I'm going to ask that you maybe you should make that today's a great day to do it. For those of you at home, this is going to be a little bit more difficult, but here in the worship center, there are note cards in the pews in front of you, and they're blank. And what I would like you to do, if today's the day that you are making that choice, especially for the first time, write on that card, I will, and circle it. And with that circle that is saying, I will, and I'm stepping into that circle, and I'm saying, God, I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow you. I am going to commit myself totally and completely to you. And circle that. And think of that circle as God's love that is never ending. It's a circle. God's love never ends. He is always on your side. He is always for you. And as you do that, if you want me to know about it, I'd encourage you to put your name on it, and we're going to do something with them in a bit. If you want to just take that home as a reminder to you, that's between you and God, and that's great. Nobody's going to ask you about it or beat you over the head or anything about it. But it's a choice that only you can make between you and God to consciously choose to do that. And as I thought about it, and we're going to be going to communion today, think of Jesus. How much did he give for us? He gave everything. Jesus went up on that cross and he died for me. And he died for you. You know that there's one of those plaques that people have up on the wall, and then Jesus is on the cross, and it says, how much does Jesus love you? This much. He loved us totally and completely. Now, there's going to be a lot of you here, especially here in the sanctuary, that have already done that. And you said, well, I've been there, done that. I'm right with God. Well, I want you to consider maybe recommitting today to make it a new, kind of a fresh start. Maybe you've got some habits in your life that are still there that you're hanging on to. Maybe there's a part of your life that you still haven't given God control over, that you kind of put on the shelf and just tell God that you can have everything but that. Maybe today you want to say, God, I'm going to give you that too. I'm going to finally give you all. And I'd like you to take that card as well and write, I will. But I want you to underline it and saying, I'm going to start today. I'm going to take that step of faith again and say, I am going to follow through. I'm going to allow God to take that part of me today. And just so that you're getting back to the basics, allowing him to be your foundation in your life. That's why that underlining. Jesus is my foundation. Jesus is my God. And as you contemplate on recommitting yourself to Jesus on this journey, and you're doing the cards, we will be having communion.